This is one of my favorite spots to fly the drone from because there's no one really around, and it's always awkward when you're trying to launch and land a drone. There's a bunch of people around, rarely anybody around here. Speaking of awkward, you know what else is awkward is restarting a vlog after taking a long break. The metaphor I like to use is that it's really hard to restart a train from a dead stop. Of course, uses I don't know how much energy, but it seems like the momentum that's pushing it when it's already in motion, while it keeps going, it seems like less than it would take to get it started from a dead stop. If you mainly just tune in for the poker hands, not gonna be a whole lot of that in this video, but you will find some poker hands if you go ahead and skip to that number. You're gonna find a really interesting hand where your host, myself, is put into a very tough spot with a very good premium holding. Head over there if you want to skip. I do feel like this video series has a couple of purposes. One is to share things with an audience, give you guys some value, hopefully, whether it's in the form of entertainment or information or some combination therein. Another purpose for this video series is for my own journal diary keeping. So in that sort of Venn diagram area, myself and you guys probably wondering where the hell I've been for the past 3 months. Let me get you caught up. Right, so we'll throw it back to when I was down in Mexico, Cabo San Lucas, with my buddy, Brad. We were both down there for the WSOP, which did not take place in its usual location here in Las Vegas last summertime due to the coronavirus. Went down to Mexico to play a very, very robust schedule of online poker tournaments. Great trip. You guys know about that. But anyway, so came back to Las Vegas, laid low for about a month or so. Took some time off following, as mentioned, 7 weeks of online poker grinding. Then getting back out into the Las Vegas streets, heading back to the strip to make some more poker bids. So fired away pretty well, pretty heavily, pretty strongly at the poker videos, at least a couple of videos a week for, I don't know, a good couple months or so. Was in a really good groove. Games felt like they were good, was winning in the games, and the broader picture was a little bit prettier here in Vegas as well as in other parts of the country. The number of coronavirus cases, they were on the dip, and felt like, even though it wasn't going to be risk-free, it didn't feel like I was assuming too much risk with the numbers being as low as they were in that situation. Now, I know I'm not exactly in a high-risk category for myself. That being said, as far as poker vloggers go, this guy, the one that you're watching, a little bit on the older side. A lot of I think it's a young man's game, both poker and poker blogging, YouTubing in general. So, while not really afraid of the worst possible outcome if I did happen to get sick, I felt like there was a lot of unknowns where I didn't really feel the need to risk it. I say that I didn't feel the need to risk it partially because of what else was happening, I guess, in a macro landscape with economics, investments, all that sort of stuff. I really got into trading equities. I wouldn't say every single day, but pretty frequently, being in the market, making a couple trades here and there, as well as investing in cryptocurrency.
Welcome back to Fast Money. Take a look at Bitcoin going bananas over the weekend. The cryptocurrency topping 61,000 for the first time ever. Bitcoin pulling back today, but still up more than 90% this year.
Over the past year or so, we've seen a massive bull run in both of those worlds. So, yeah, being involved in the markets and things going really well in that department, I felt like I didn't necessarily need to be at the poker table as cases started to pick back up. And pick up they did, and just decided, lay low. Again, maybe I'm not going to get this time ever again until much later on in life, to really just lay low, spend as much time as I'll ever get with Boosie, my fiance, and just be able to take it easy, especially following a very hectic previous year with meetup game after meetup game on the grind, kicking out videos, etc. That's not actually all I was doing, though. Was keeping an eye and ear open for potential plans once the dust settled during this ridiculous time over the past year. Continuing to talk about future plans and trying to come up with some sort of a plan for once everything was going to be back open again, both poker and in other potential pursuits. And one of those pursuits was that, or maybe continues to be, potentially opening up a bar with my buddy Brad. Just an idea for now, very much in the brainstorming process, but we did have a couple of meetings with a couple guys who own a couple of bars in downtown Las Vegas. So myself, Brad, and these two co-owners of some bars, couple meetings, and a couple days after one of those meetings found out that Brad was positive for the coronavirus. Apparently he picked it up at a party with a few of his friends that were getting together for a birthday event. Got that news from him. Luckily he was feeling not too terrible, kind of just like a cold sort of situation. Boosie and I, we ended up taking 2 tests. The first test that we each took came back negative. That was about 5 days after we found out that I had been exposed. And then maybe another 5 days to a week later, I started getting some symptoms and took another test alongside Boosie. Hers came back negative again. My second one came back positive. So despite trying nearly my best to avoid the situation, avoid getting sick, turns out picked it up at that meeting and started feeling, I would say, kind of mediocre. Symptoms included about a fever of 101.5 for 5 or so days. Just pretty tired and headachy and had some body aches. Never lost my sense of taste or smell like I know a lot of people have, including Brad, who I think is still dealing with that, unfortunately. No major lingering effects from me, aside from a little bit of a cough here and there. Seems to be the long tail end of any sort of sickness that I pick up is a mild cough. So just gonna keep monitoring that, but haven't had a fever for a long time now. Have been able to get back after it after the symptoms have gone away and feeling much better. Anyway, did my quarantine time, and after all the symptoms had vanished and following a long enough period according to doctors and the CDC and all that stuff, did manage to get back out there, back into the live poker streets for a total of 6 live sessions, actually 7, but I'll tell you about that 7th one in a minute. So 6 live sessions. I played 2 live sessions of 5-10 no limit at the Bellagio. I won one and I lost one. I think I won $13.50 in the first one and I lost like $2,700 in the second one. Wouldn't say I played my best poker in either of those sessions. I was probably lucky to get a win in the first one. Decided to switch it up to try a change of scenery and moved over to the 5-5-10 Pot Limit Omaha game at the Aria. Played 4 swingy sessions in that game. That's a big game. It's probably going to play somewhere around a 10-20 no limit game. 4 sessions. In the first one, I won $2,000. In the second one, I won $5,000. In the third one, I won $4,600. And in the 4th session, I lost $4,500. So across all those 4 sessions of PLO, currently standing at around 7.1K, I believe, according to my math. So yeah, been enjoying that game. Probably going to be looking into playing that game a bit more frequently. In between those live poker sessions and right now, I heard from a little company called PokerStars who asked me if I wanted to do some commentary for the Michigan Championship of Online Poker Main Event Final Table. So PokerStars is a go now. It is launched in Michigan. It's the first operator that is officially licensed and regulated and up and running in Michigan. Eventually there will be more. For now, just PokerStars. But I said, hey, I have a better idea. Why don't I fly out to Michigan, play a bunch of the tournaments, stream them on my YouTube channel, and also do the commentary. You know what I say to that? I say, pocket aces, buddy. We got pocket aces. Stars allowed in Michigan now? Yes, sir. As of very recently. More important than that, though, 2 aces. What a dream. Can the aces hold up this time? Come on, sexy Caitlin. You're not folding. We know that. Ye old aces. No. Yes. You say 3, I say 7.9. You say 12.8, I say 23.1. 33.4. So that was a really cool trip. It's great that Michigan, my home state, is on the board for having online poker fully regulated and licensed. And right now it's just a player pool that is ring-fenced within Michigan, but eventually that state will be linked up with Pennsylvania, New Jersey, anywhere else PokerStars gets regulated and is regulated. So pretty cool little gig there that I got to do, and it was fun to stream every single day. A little bit exhausting, again, a young man's game, this streaming and probably poker thing overall, but had a good time doing that since it was, you know, my home state. Post up in Detroit for a week, 8 days, and get involved. And so that brings us to the now. Today is Tuesday, and before Tuesday starts, we have to talk about Monday. I mentioned wanting to play more of the Pot Limit Omaha game, but it just didn't feel right coming back to you guys after 3 months and shoving some 4-card craziness into your faces. It just felt like we needed to bring it back to the classic, the 510 Bellagio No Limit Texas Hold'em, a place where many a memory has been created. And boy, do I have another potential memory in the works for you guys. So we've got a doozy right off the bat here when it comes to poker hands. In this hand, there's a straddle on. The player on my direct left puts the straddle on. I'm in the big blind, and there is one limper in middle position before folds over to me in the big blind looking down at 2 kings. Love to see it. Gonna put in a raise. I make it $90 to go. The player who is straddled just lost a pretty decent sizable pot the immediate hand before this. He potentially tilting his mind out, raises it up to $300, puts in the 3-bet, $300 before it gets exceptionally interesting. The limper puts in more money, and it's a lot more money. He 4-bets to $1,300. Okay, 2 kings. Second best hand ever created, facing the limp 4-bet. All right, so what sort of thought process are we gonna follow here? My thoughts, limp 4-bet is gonna be aces, other 2 kings, maybe queens, maybe ace king, but he's limped in for $20. Is he gonna go from limping in for $20 to putting in $1,300 cold with ace king? We have ourselves 2 kings. So it makes the likelihood of that a little bit less so. Same kind of situation with 2 queens. Now, the thing that makes it tricky is that this player is aware that the straddler could be, as mentioned, tilting out of his mind. So I don't think it would be completely unreasonable to put a little bit wider of a range, to assign that player a little bit wider of a range. So I think queens could be in there. Don't think we're going to see as low as jacks following 90, 300, 1,300 with jacks. Again, it makes it a little bit unlikely that it's going to be queens as well. So there aren't that many instances of me folding 2 kings pre-flop. Not in this vlog and not ever in my poker career. If I have to think back, I think we talked about this in a previous vlog. I don't remember what the number was, but it's going to be somewhere around 3 or 4 times in my entire poker career have I folded pocket kings before the flop. This is going to be another one of those times. I decide to let the 2 kings go. The player in the straddle position does not snap get it in, thinks about it for a little while before getting in it for a little bit less. The straddler gets it in, and we do get to see all the cards, thankfully. And I say thankfully because we get to sleep well at night. The cold 4-better turns over 2 aces. The straddler turns over 8-7 of hearts. They decided to run it twice. I mentioned some tilting, and it looks like it was a reasonable read. I also think he just likes to gamble. Maybe this is kind of par for the course for him. Gamble, you know, didn't come all the way to the Bellagio Las Vegas, the middle of the desert, for God's sakes, to fold a suited connector. So these two guys are going to see 2 full boards. We do not see any kings on all 10 of these cards, so we would have lost the maximum versus the aces. The 8-7 of hearts is actually going to end up chopping this hand with the aces. He's actually going to profit a little bit with my $90 in there. So craziness. Pocket kings, we find a miracle fold. We somehow only lose $90 with kings versus aces in a 5-10 game with a straddle on. A 5-10-20 game where I have $1,500 in my stack. It's a pretty unique set of circumstances where we see the limp 4-bet. If that player did not limp, we probably lose the maximum. We get bailed out a little bit due to the way that the action unfolded. So pretty thrilled about that little development there. In this session, there wasn't really a lot that went my way, and for quite a while, it was a little bit frustrating, a little bit to a lot frustrating because of how many things were not going my way. I did manage to find a lot of pocket pairs. But virtually none of them worked out in my favor. Not flopping any sets, not flopping overpairs, facing turn raises with an overcard on the board, not getting involved in any major confrontations, but just kind of bleeding away, one of those kind of sessions. There was another spot where the under the gun player opens for 30, and I looked down at king queen offsuit, 2 spots to his left. I think if I'm playing as sharp as I possibly could be, then this is going to be a kind of a standard fold, because that player is a good player, and king queen offsuit versus an under the gun range probably not going to do so great. But the player who was straddling in that other crazy hand is still on my direct left, and just kind of have more eyes on him and trying to get involved when I know he's going to be playing a lot of pots as well. So I make the call with king queen offsuit, and how many ways? 4 ways.
4 players, check.
To a flop that comes down queen high with 2 spades. The initial raiser bets $80, I flat call, and the player at my left raises it up to $400. There's a fold behind him before the player in the under the gun spot makes the call. So not a great spot here. Don't really know where I'm at, but with the player under the gun bet calling and trying to take this king queen to showdown 3 ways, doesn't feel like it's in all that great of a spot, especially holding 1 spade when it makes it a little bit less likely that someone has a flush draw. So I let my hand go. The turn is the king of clubs, second club. This time it actually goes check, check, and the river pairs the board. Again, actually goes check, check. When we see that the initial raiser has ace queen of hearts, it's a little bit disappointing because we would have won, profiting somewhere around $900 or so in this hand. But I guess we made a good fold on the flop facing the further action. And just kind of illustrating the point even further, king queen off, probably a fold, almost certainly a fold versus a good under the gun raising range. As mentioned, all sorts of other hands that don't work out. We managed to get ace jack off suit all in versus 8-6 of hearts versus the player who's having himself a fun time, and that hand does not work in our favor either. He's only got a couple $100, but just kind of salt in the wound a little bit. Later on, we do manage to eventually find some better situations. We open up the ace queen from the cutoff, the button flats, and the small blind puts in a 3-bet. I flat, button flats. 3 ways to a flop that comes king queen X. The 3-better in the small blind puts out a bet of $150. I flat, button folds. The turn and river go check, check, and the 3-better in the small blind has ace jack off suit. So happy with that situation. A little bit of clawing back the monies. And guys, that's really about everything interesting that happened in this session, this 5-10 session at the Bellagio. This is a little bit awkward of a video. That's about all the extent of the action. But I mean, hopefully that king's hand made enough for some interesting discussion. We get into the game for $3,000, cash out of the game for $2,775. We lose $225 for a pretty small loss in a 5-10 game. Right, so I'm in the thick of it. I'm about to go play another poker session. A couple of announcements. I made a second channel. It looks like this. It's called this. You can find it if you just search for Andrew Neeme 2. I'm going to be putting all sorts of extra stuff on that channel. I'm going to be posting classic poker vlog hand clips, some crazy poker hands from way back that you might not remember, or maybe you do. Live streams, full live stream videos, interviews, all sorts of other stuff. Anything that I can think of that isn't just the typical poker blog. I wanted to have a second channel just to be able to put whatever strikes my mind, whatever ridiculous idea I have next. So would love for you guys to subscribe to that. Announcement number 2 is that I'm going to try and get better at poker. I'm going to actually try. For a long time, getting better at poker has kind of taken a backseat to running a YouTube channel. I've already got a potential few poker coaches lined up across all the disciplines. When I say disciplines, I mean no limit hold'em cash games, no limit hold'em tournaments, and pot limit Omaha cash games. So I'm going to introduce you to one of those in the next video, which I'm about to go record the poker hands for. A little bit awkward, a lot of talking in this video, not a lot of poker. Expect a little bit more poker in the next video. Thanks for having me back, guys.